Okay, I want to review the exponent stuff. These 7 examples to simplify completely. So example 1, we have in parentheses 5m to the 6th and second times m to the 3rd. So again, you're going to make these 3 lines to simplify exponents. So, and underline the thing, everything's on top to begin with. So you have a factor of 5, a factor of m, and then a second factor of m, so that just means you're going to add. So the 5, I put a 1 times 2 is 2. Now the m, we got 6 times 2, that's 12, and then since that m's not in a parentheses, we just drop the 3. So 12 plus 3 is 15. Now, you bring those straight over because neither one of the exponents are negative. So you got 5 to the 2nd times m to the 15th, and then you can simplify the 5 to the 2nd. The letter you can't simplify, so we'll just put that at the end. But the 5 to the 2nd, I can take 5 times 5. Not 5 times 2, it's 2 5s multiplied together. So it's 25. So 25 times m to the 15th power is the answer. Alright, next one. We got 2x in parentheses to the negative 4th. So underline it. And then you have a factor of 2 and a factor of x. The 2's to the 1st, so 1 times negative 4 is negative 4, and then 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. Now you can't bring those straight over because they have negative powers. So if we bring them down here, then the powers become positive. And then I put the variable where it belongs. And then the 2 to the 4th I can simplify. I can take 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which gives us 16. Now anytime I don't have a top, I need to put a 1 there. See, I don't need a 1 on the bottom, but I do need a 1 on the top if nothing else is there. Okay, next one, we've got parentheses 2 over x to the 2nd to the 3rd times 3x to the 4th over y to the 2nd, and then outside we have a 4th power. Okay, so 3 lines. Okay, so what we do is just connect the line so it's there. And on top we have a factor of 2, a factor of 3, and a factor of x. Now on the bottom, okay, we have a factor of x and a factor of y. Let's look at the 2. It's to the 1st, but it's in parentheses, so we got to take 1 times 3, that's 3. Now the 3 is to the 1st, we got to take 1 times 4, that's 4. Now go to the x, you take 4 times 4, that's 16. That's it for the top. Now the bottom, you got x to the 2nd, so you got to take the 2 times the 3, and that's 6. And 2 times the 4, that's 8. Now when you have stuff on the bottom, you need to try to cross them out. Now you have an x on bottom, do you have 1 on top? Yes you do, so you cross out the bottom and then subtract the top. So 16 minus 6 is 10, so it's x to the 10th. Now the y has to stay because we don't have a y on top. Now positive, 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 so everything just moves straight over. 2 to the 3rd times 3 to the 4th times x to the 10th, and y to the 8th moves straight over. Now the x to the 10th and the y to the 8th stay like they are, top, bottom. But these two we can simplify. Because 2 to the 3rd, we can take 2 times 2 times 2, that's 8. And 3 to the 4th, we can take 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, that's 81. Okay, and then we got to times the 8 and the 81. So 8 times 81 is 648. So just cross it out, and this is the answer. 648 times x to the 10th over y to the 8th. Okay, next one we have parentheses 2e to the negative 4th, g to the 5th, and then e to the 5th, g to the negative 3rd. So the line's already drawn for me. So on top I have a factor of 2, a factor of e, and a factor of g. On bottom I have a factor of e and a factor of g. So 1 times negative 4 is negative 4, then e 1 times negative 4 is negative 4, and then g to the 5th, it's not in parentheses. Now we go to the bottom. We just have 5th and negative 3. Now you cross out the 5 and then minus 5. You're always minusing when you cross out. So negative 4 minus 5 is negative 9. And then get rid of that g, and you're going to minus, not 3, you're going to minus negative 3. Okay? 5 minus negative 3. Not 5 minus 3. You got to go 5 minus negative 3. That's 8. Okay, so here are the exponents. 2 to the negative 4th, e to the negative 9th, g to the 8th. The g to the 8th comes straight over because that's positive, but then the 2 and the e go to the bottom so that their powers can become positive. 4, 9. And then the letters stay the same place. Keep them the same. And then that 2 to the 4th, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 16. And that's the final answer. Okay, now the next directions is about scientific notation. It says simplify each expression and write each answer in scientific notation. So the first one we got 7 times 10 to the 5th, and then 6.3 times 10 to the 6th. So this is a multiplication. So we take the 7 times the 6.3 and the 10 to the 5th times the 10 to the 6th. Okay, so 7 times 6.3. 44.1, so write that down. Now, to multiply the base 10s, you write 10 down and you plus the powers, okay? 5 plus 6 is 11, okay? Times 10 to the 11th. But you can only have one digit in front of the decimal. Right now you have 2, so if I move it this way, okay, I'm good. But that means I moved it one place, so I put a 1 with that 11, and when I move to the left, I add 1. So 11 plus 1 is 12. So 4.41 times 10 to the 12th power. So when you move it left and go smaller here, you got to add and go bigger right there. Okay, and then this one, 2.4 times 10 to the 8th over 3 times 10 to the negative 5th. Alright, so now it's division. It's like this. So I want to divide 2.4 by 3, and then I divide 10 to the 8th by 10 to the negative 5th. So 2.4 divided by 3 is 0.8. So I'm going to write that down. Times. Now remember, to divide with exponents, we cross the 1 off the bottom and minus negative 5 from the top. So 8 minus negative 5 is 13. So it's 10 to the 13th power. Now you can't have a 0. You can have one digit in front of the decimal, but it can't be a 0. So if I move it this way, I have 8.0 times. But then if I move it right here, I'm making it bigger here, so I have to make it smaller by 1 with the exponent, so 10 to the 12th. Okay, then the story problem. The value of a car is $13,000. The car loses value at a rate of 15% per year. Approximate the value of the car if I decide to sell it in 10 years. Okay, so what do you have? You have dollars and years. So years is X, dollars is Y. You times always X. So dollars per year. Well, it's not a dollars per year rate, it's a 15% rate, and it loses 15%, so that means minus 15%. And when it's a percent, it's not a line, okay? First thing you need to do is take 100% minus 15%, which is 85%, and move the decimal twice to the left and 0.85. So when we have this percent, it's an exponential equation. So we will go A times B to the X power equals Y. Now again, here's what A, B, X, and Y stand for. Well, A and Y are the same thing. So if Y is dollars, then A is dollars too. Now the B is your percentage. It's called your decay factor, and X over here is the years. So just put stuff in. So A is your money that you began with. You began with $13,000. And B is your percent, which you have 0.85. X is your years, and you have 10 of those, so it's to the 10th power. And the Y is where the money ends at. Well, that's the answer to the problem, so I leave that as Y. Now I just plug that into a calculator then. 13,000 times 0.85 to the 10th power, and I got $2,559. Okay. Now you can either stop the video or do the assignment on your own, or you can watch the video and just keep going along with me. Okay. So number one, we have 12x to the second, y to the negative second to the fifth times y to the negative third, negative second. So 3 lines. Make a line under the whole thing. So I have a factor of 12, a factor of x, a factor of y, then a second factor of y where I need to add. So 12, 1 times 5 is 5, and then x, 2 times 5 is 10. Now there are 2 y's. We got to take negative 2 times 5, that's negative 10, and then negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. So I add those, we get negative 4. Now I bring the ones with the positive exponents go straight over, but the one with the negative s go to the other side. Then the x to the 10th and the y to the 4th stay the same. So 12 to the 5th means 12 times 12 times 12 times 12 times 12. 5 factors of 12 multiplied. And I get 2488832. Okay. Okay, number 2. We have 5xy to the negative second. So I have a factor of 5, a factor of x, a factor of y. So 1 times negative 2 is negative 2, negative 2, negative 2. I think all those need to go to the other side, so their 2's all become positive. And the x squared and the y squared stay the same, but the 5 to the second needs to be evaluated. So 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, you need a 1 on top then. You got to have a number on top. You got to have something on top. And if you have nothing, it's a 1. Okay, number 3. We have 4 over 5x to the 7th times x to the 10th over a to the second. So extend that line so you have just 1. You can do that. You can always do that in multiplication. So on top I got a factor of 4 and a factor of x. These are not factors. Those are exponents. Then bottom I have a factor of 5, a factor of x, and a factor of a. So 4 is to the 1, so I just put a 1 down. The x on top, I got to take 10 times 2, that's 20. 5's to the 1, but don't multiply it by 7. See, you don't have a parenthesis, so you just put a 1 there. X, 7. Then a's to the 1, but that's in parentheses, so you got to take 1 times 2, that's 2. Now, see if you can cross out anything on the bottom. You can't get rid of the 5. You can get rid of the x because you can subtract 7 from 20. And that'd be the 13th. You can't get rid of the a. So that's a 1, a 13, a 1, and a 2. So everything just goes straight over. 4 to the 1 times x to the 13th. 5 to the 1 times a to the 2. Okay, the x to the 13th and the a to the second stay where they're at. 4 to the first is 4. 5 to the first is 5. But they're to the first, they're just the regular number. Okay, number 4. We have a fraction. On top we have a parenthesis, 3c to the negative third, e to the sixth, and then negative 2, and then c to the 8th, e to the negative 4. Okay, so factor, you got a factor of 3, a factor of c, a factor of e. So 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. I'll do the bottom here in a second. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. And then 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. Now at bottom we have a factor of C and a factor of E. So we got 8, negative 4. Now we can get rid of this 8 on the bottom, minus it, and that's negative 2. Get rid of the negative 4. Remember to subtract negative 4, not 4. Okay? Negative 12 minus negative 4 is negative 8. Okay, all three of those are negative, so none of them go straight over. They all come down. 3 to the second, C to the second, E to the eighth, 1. 3 to the second, 3 times 3, that's 9, C to the second, E to the eighth. Okay, number 5, now you're doing scientific notation. We have 4.2 times 10 to the third, and then 8 times 10 to the ninth. So again, we take the 4.2 times the 8, and then the base 10s times each other. So 4.2 times 8 is 33.6. Now again, you multiply these. Now you don't actually multiply, you add the powers. So that's 12, 3 plus 9. So you have 33.6 times 10 to the 12th, but you have 2 digits in front of the decimal. You can only have 1. So I move it once, put a 1 there. Now if I'm making it smaller here, I have to make it bigger here by adding. So 3.36 times 10 to the power of 13. Okay, number 6. When you move it left, you add. When you move it right, you subtract. Now I got 2.4 times 10 to the 4th over 6 times 10 to the negative 6th. So we have 2.4 divided by 6, and then 10 to the 4th divided by 10 to the negative 6. So I do divide. 2.4 by 6 is 0.4. And then remember, if you're adding here, you're going to minus here. You cross out the 1 on the bottom and then subtract it from the top. 4 minus negative 6 is 10. 4 minus negative 6 is 10. When you subtract a negative, the number gets bigger. So we write down 0.4 times 10 to the 10th. Okay, now you can have one digit, but it can't be a 0. So if I move it this way, I now have 4.0. And then I got to do a 1 here, but I moved it right here, so I minus it. I'm making it bigger here, so I have to make it smaller here. Times 10 to the 9th. Okay, then number 7. The number of students enrolled at a college is 15,000 students. Enrollment is decreasing by 4% each year. How many students will be enrolled 10 years from now, assuming the trend continues? So students equals. So again, those units, you got, how do they relate? You got the students and the years. The time is X. Let the time always be the X, and then students is Y. So per students per year. Okay, students per year is a percentage, okay? So it's decreasing by 4, so minus 4%. So with that percent, first thing you do is 100% minus 4%, 96%. So move the decimal twice to the left, 0.96. Okay, so that means it's an exponent, exponential growth, so no line, okay? A times b to the x power equals y. So A, B, X, and Y. So A and Y, if Y is students, then A is students as well. Look in that side box. A and Y always match. Your B is the percentage, that's at 0.96. And then X is the years. Okay, so let's talk about this. So what do the students begin with 15,000? We don't know where they end with because that's what we're trying to figure out. Now the percentage is 0.96. And then the years we have 10. Okay, so just plug those into the equation. You got 15,000 times B is 0.96, X is years, that's 10, equals Y. Okay, and you can easily solve for the Y just by plugging that in. So you got 15,000 times 0.96 to the 10th power, 9972.